What if I told you something that eventually cost me more than I ever imagined started with just $20? Not thousands of dollars, not something big dramatic movement. $20. And the scary part, in the beginning, it didn't feel like addiction. It felt like relief. Have you ever wondered what addiction really looks like? When I was younger, before I understood addiction, I would hear people talk about drinking problem, drugs, and other addictions. And if I'm being honest, I judged. I didn't understand. There's a saying, knowledge is power. And when you've never walked through something yourself, it can very easy to form an opinion about somebody else's struggle. But today, I can talk about addiction differently because I have first-hand experience with it. Hello everyone, this is Dimples D, and welcome back to the Healing Corner with Dimples D. Today I want to talk about something very personal to me, gambling addiction. And I'm not sharing this to judge anyone. I'm not sharing it to condemn anyone. I'm sharing it because somebody listening may recognize themselves in my story. Because it goes as far as mine did. Before it goes as far as mine did. And one thing I want people to understand is this. Addiction is not only drugs or alcohol. It can be gambling, shopping, pornography, food, smoking, drinking. Anything that begins taking control of your life and pulling you away from things you would normally do. And my gambling addiction did not start with me waking up one morning saying, today I'm going to become addicted to gambling. No, it started innocently. At that time in my life, I was working, I was going to school, I was raising a child, I was running back and forth trying to handle all responsibilities that comes with life. And sometimes I was overwhelmed. I remember one evening leaving work and stopping at the local casino. I had $20. That was it. $20. And I sat in that casino for hours with that $20. But here's what I understand now. At first, gambling wasn't really about winning money for me. It was an escape. For those few hours, I didn't have to think about work. I didn't have to think about school. I didn't have to think about bills. I didn't have to think about everything I was carrying. I could just sit there, look at the machine, listen to the sounds, and escape my real life for a little while. So I went back. Then I went back again and again. And what started as something I did every now and again, so slowly became something I wanted to do more often. Then one day, I was sitting at those little penny machines, and I still remember that machine. It had the little pigs on it, and I won $750. And the crazy thing is, I didn't even realize I won. It took somebody sitting next to me to tell me that I had won. But that win changed something in me. Instead of thinking, whoa, I got lucky, I started thinking, maybe I can do it again. And that right there was the beginning of something I did not understand yet. I started betting bigger, playing different machines, chasing bigger wins. And that same $20 that somehow kept me sitting there for hours eventually wouldn't last me an hour sometimes, not even 10 minutes. Because $20 was no longer enough. I wanted more. I wanted the bigger win. And the more I gambled, the more I wanted to gamble. I started spending more time in the casino. I started spending more money. And eventually, I started spending money I really didn't have to spend. And this is the part I really want somebody to hear. Sometimes addiction doesn't enter your life looking dangerous. Sometimes it enters looking like a relief. It looks like something helping you to cope. Sometimes helping you to forget. Something harmless until one day the thing you were using to escape your problems becomes a problem of its own. Looking back now, I can see it clearly. I wasn't just gambling for entertainment. I was gambling to escape, and little by little, that escape started gaining control over me. And that's how my story began. Not with $1,000, not with some huge dramatic moment. It began with $20. A little escape, a big win, and the belief that maybe I could do it again. But what happened after that is where my story gets much deeper, because eventually gambling wasn't just something I did. It started affecting my money, my decisions, my relationships, my mental health, and parts of my life I never imagined it could touch. In part 2, I'm going to tell you what happened when I stopped chasing the win and started chasing the losses. I'm going to talk about spending more than I planned, hiding what I was doing, and how gambling slowly began controlling parts of my life. Because somebody listening, this may be where I once was. And if my story helped even one person recognize what's happening before you go as far as I did, then telling it is worth it. Until next time, remember, addiction doesn't always enter your life looking dangerous. Sometimes it enters looking like a relief. Keep healing, hope, and growth. One chapter at a time. One love, Dimples D.